Who is in charge of your mind? Is it you? Is it internal processes? Is it external influences? What do you feed into your mind? What do you let take charge of your mind? I know these are big questions, aren't they? But they are very important questions. And there is so much that is linked to what controls your mind and who controls your mind. And this episode of Exploring Brain and Mind will actually be a 2-part episode because there is so much different stuff involved with what's controlling or who's controlling your mind. So in this first episode, I will take a closer look at the internal processes and some of the more closer environment, let me call it like that, like the people around you that have an influence on controlling your mind. Whereas in another episode, we look at far more external factors that come into your mind from a lot of different sources. As mentioned in the introduction, there are internal and external influences on who and what is controlling the mind. And I'm starting with the internal processes. The first of which is our amygdala, our reptilian brain that has been with us for many thousands of years, that always shouts and screams when it finds something dangerous. If it is really dangerous or if it's just imagined to be dangerous, that's a different ballgame, but it cannot distinguish between if something is a real danger or if it's just imagined or perceived. And whenever it shouts danger, the fright, flight, freeze response kicks in. This also happens when a person has experienced trauma or when there are any strong emotional links attached to whatever the amygdala perceives as some danger. Another internal influence are dopamine loops, which are in our society where everything and anything is supposed to be digital and is on phones or computers and has a lot to do with scrolling and finding something nice, communicating with people online and scrolling for cat videos or any kind of things that make you happy, enthusiastic, that make you laugh. Mind you, laughter is good for the brain. That's another topic for another episode, by the way. Or if someone gives you likes and positive comments on your posts, that gives you another little dopamine shot. I know it's not just digital things that give you a good lot of dopamine, but I'm not going to go too deep into whatever else. So what is it that dopamine does and what effects does it have with regards to control and the brain and mind? Dopamine plays a huge role with regards to reward and motivation, and it motivates people to repeat certain behaviors. And these actions, they cause feelings of pleasure, satisfaction, and motivation. Dopamine also influences movement. It helps to regulate motor control and executive functions, and it triggers a release of dopamine to motivate you to do things from small voluntary movements to chores. Dopamine is involved in learning and attention. Dopamine helps you to get started and keep going when you're learning something new. It also helps you plan, prioritize, and keep track of what you're doing. It influences the mood, and it is often referred to as the feel-good hormones because it plays an important role in regulating mood. And dopamine is involved in memory, and it is produced in the brain by neurons at the base of the brain. Now let's look at cortisol next. Cortisol is the body's primary stress hormone, and it can impact stress-induced behaviors in different ways. It also inhibits certain brain functions and is linked to not just stress behavior, but also to when the amygdala shouts danger, then cortisol kicks in and helps to shut down things that are not necessarily needed in the body to further the fight, flight, freeze process. Cortisol reactivity can lead to habitual behaviors and more expression of habits after behavioral devaluation. High cortisol responses are associated with decreased active approach avoidance behavior during stress. Cortisol communicates with the brain regions that control mood, motivation, and fear. It is released by the adrenal glands when the body perceives stress, such as when a large dog barks at you, if it's a very scary dog that you might be afraid of. It can increase blood sugar and enhances the brain's use of glucose. It increases the availability of substances that repair tissues. It slows non-essential or harmful functions, challenges. It changes immune system response. It suppresses the digestive system. See, that's what I meant earlier with helping to get the fight, flight, freeze response in action. It also suppresses the reproductive system and growth processes. These were more the biological influences. Now the next is the influence of the subconscious mind. 95% of thoughts and decisions are influenced by subconscious patterns. Beliefs stored in the subconscious mind from childhood experiences and repeated exposure. In the subconscious mind are also day-to-day things like we always do, which is a bit more referring to the biological predetermined things like walking, talking, and so on. What is important with regards to the subconscious mind is we can reprogram that. And some tools for reprogramming are NLP techniques. Then you can use visualization, as in mentally rehearsing desired outcomes, and also affirmations, replacing negative thought loops with positive statements. Doing this repetitively is important so that the brain structure can adjust to the new thoughts and beliefs and reduce or deconstruct the structures of neuron networks in the brain that are linked to old beliefs, habits, thoughts. So in this next bit, I look at the external influences, and that part will be more the people around us and how they can influence us and why that happens. It's a lot to do with social conditioning and peer pressure. We human beings, we want to be liked, we want to be accepted by others, we want to belong to a group of people that we feel aligned to. Maybe they have the similar values, maybe they like the same music, maybe they are our work colleagues, and you do really want to be a part of that group of people where you spend many days of the week to do your work, your job. Or it's a group of friends that you particularly like and are fond of, that you want to be a part of, and you want to be liked and appreciated and accepted by them. Social conditioning, groupthink and peer pressure can happen when we're in a group, but sometimes when we're out in public, we have to put up with situations and with people that we don't necessarily like or know, but we still have to kind of fit in a way without standing out as someone strange or odd. We just want to fit in with the behaviors. And in order to do that, we have these wonderful things called mirror neurons in our brain. Those mirror neurons have first been discovered in research on monkeys and in humans. Brain activity consistent with that of mirror neurons have been found in the premotor cortex, the supplementary motor area, the primary somatosensory cortex, and the inferior parietal cortex. Pardon me for all the fancy words, but these are just the names of the areas in the brain. Those mirror neurons facilitate our learning by enabling us to imitate and understand the actions of behaviors of those we observe. And when we watch others engaged in a task, areas of our brain are stimulated as though the task is being performed by us. Mirror neurons also help us to learn and grow and feel closeness with our families, with colleagues, and with friends. And by mirroring others, our brains can help us feel part of the group or a team. We are built to empathize with other people. The point with regards to control is, however, how much do we let other people around us influence us? Do we let them influence us just because we are wanting to be liked and because we don't want to be rejected? How much control, how much do we let their opinions and their way of thinking influence us in a way so that we take on their opinion and take on their way of thinking, even though it does not align with who we are, what we think, and what our opinions are? That is the question to ask ourselves. We also then have to ask ourselves, do we really want to mingle with these people? Do we want to be associated with them? Do we want to have them in our circles? If we have people in our circles that don't align with us, our body will give us signals, our brain and mind will give us signals that it doesn't fit, it doesn't align with us. And if we keep associating with them, we might start to feel mentally not well, and it might have even a physical effect. So it's important to have the right people around us that align with values we have, with views we have, and with who are just on the same wavelength. All these questions apply to closer relationships as well. That's more the person-to-person relationships. And I don't only mean having a spouse or partner or intimate relationship, but also work colleagues. Because with work colleagues, we're sometimes a bit more closely associated. And the way they are and behave can influence us quite a lot, especially when it's in a negative way, like when people gaslight us. So gaslighting is a form of manipulation where one person distorts another's reality, making them question their perceptions. Like when someone, like a partner or colleague, dismisses valid concerns by saying, oh, you're just imagining that, and that's not right. And they're dismissive. Gaslighting is denying your memory of events, minimizing your emotions, and making you second guess reality. If you have people like that in your circles, it might be helpful to keep a journal about all the different incidents and interactions as a point of reference, just in case you need it. And it's also important to have a good external support network around you. Another tactic might be love bombing, which is subtle, intense gestures of affection to create some dependency. This is very often used both in romantic relationships, but also in workplace settings, in workplace dynamics, to control the recipient emotionally. The important bit here is to stay grounded, not let it get to you, not let it influence you, try and look for consistency over time. If they are just doing it in certain situations, important in those situations is to stay grounded, not to let you get swept away and swayed by such great gestures or gestures of affection or extensive praise. Look for consistency over time if they mean it or if they're just putting on a show. To increase your self-awareness, you can use mindfulness, as in reflecting, meditating, sitting in silence, thinking over certain situations that made you question things, that made you question yourself, that made you doubt yourself, that make you question whether a person is good for you or not good for you. A good thing to do along with all that is journaling. And some good journaling prompts might be, why did you get triggered? Note down the situation, why you got triggered, why you think you got triggered, or why you responded in a certain way. Important is as well to limit negative influences. Remove yourself from any kind of digital resources that cause you stress, anxiety, or fear. Remove yourself from groups or from people in your circles that don't have a good influence on you, that make you feel anxious, nervous, angry, irritated. You don't want any stress, any unnecessary stress, which keeps the cortisol pumping. And cortisol, as we were mentioning, can keep inhibiting certain brain functions that you might want to keep going. Surround yourself with people that inspire you, that motivate you, that have a positive influence on you. This brings us to the end of the first part of Who Controls Your Mind as part of the Exploring Brain and Mind podcast. If you liked the episode, like and share with other people, and make sure you follow and subscribe to the podcast on Apple, on Spotify, all the other podcast outlets, and be sure not to miss part 2 of Who Controls Your Mind.